Welcome to the first episode of the Shoot to Ill podcast. My name is Martin Depict. I'm a photographer, videographer, graphic designer here in LA. I guess we'll just start this off with a story. 5 years ago, I started to really get into my head and worry way too much about what people thought about me. When I got to that point in my life, I started feeling like I couldn't sort of break out of it. I thought it was like a creative block that I couldn't break out of. And so every time that I tried, I just tried to sort of keep taking on more projects to stay busy. I thought that by keeping myself busy that I would eventually just sort of break through this pattern and not feel this creative block anymore, knowing that it wasn't that. It was something that I definitely had to work on and get past. I had to really work on myself to get past this. And around this time, it was like PC culture was becoming a thing. I'm a male photographer that shoots a lot of women, and I started feeling like people would judge me off of my work. People would judge my character off of my work. I started worrying about what people would say about me, what people would say about my friends, my family, and it really affected my psyche in a really fucked up way. Then in 2020, everyone got locked inside their houses, right? Like it was a weird time for everyone. People don't even like talking about it now. It's like such old news. But I remember that time as this time where a lot of creatives, people that I knew, sort of turned to something new to sort of work on, whether it was a YouTube channel or projects that they wanted to work on. And I sort of wanted to do the same. And I was lucky enough to continue working, and I started really honing my craft when it came to video. I started shooting a lot of video. I shot my first commercial that year. I started to really hone in on that craft, right? I shot two really high-end product commercials that I was really proud of. One for a makeup company, another one for a beverage company. It was cool. It was fun. And then what unexpected happened was a lot of the people that I would work with or that knew me or that knew about my photography work, they started hitting me up for OnlyFans content, photos, videos, stuff that they could use on their pages. And that kind of stuff was cool to shoot too, and still sort of feeling like people are going to judge me off of this or all this stuff. I didn't want to tell anyone. I'm not ashamed of it now. I don't really care if people know or whether or not I shoot with OnlyFans models or people that shoot that type of content. I just think it's work. And it took me a long time to get to this point. 2 years ago, I got to the point to where I was working pretty consistently, and not only I was able to freelance a good amount with OnlyFans, with client work, with portraits, with social media stuff, with all that. It got to this point to where I was making a good enough amount. I was making a good enough living to have some free time for myself, which is huge as a creative. Like, a lot of us have to work really hard to get to the point to where we have free time. And so I got to this point, and I was like, man, I really want to work on something for myself. I was working on so many projects for other people and shooting stuff for clients that I wasn't necessarily being creatively fulfilled. And so I started working on this brand, Shoot to Ill. Shoot to Ill was an idea that at first it was like, oh, I'll start like a Patreon or an OnlyFans, and then just, release photos on there, just like as a way to make like some side money, and I can sort of like creatively set up shoots and do all these things, but I was shooting what I wanted to do and shooting what I wanted to shoot. Um, and that sort of like evolved. I think like I was still very much in my head about how people viewed me or how people judged me. So I didn't want to sort of like go too much the female OnlyFans demographic, or obviously I didn't want to shoot for. I didn't want to shoot too much male specific content, at least for fun, just because I do it for work still. So I continued to work on the brand. I did the logo. I sort of like kept working on it over the years, and the idea sort of evolved, and it's still like a Patreon thing. It's still something that I want to do monthly on Patreon. But then it turned into something to where I'm now doing a project every month, releasing it only on Patreon, really shooting a project, recording that project, or recording the process of shooting that project, doing a live stream of how I edit those photos, and then even showing the process of laying out those photos in a zine format and releasing it on Patreon. All this sort of takes all my skills and mashes them together to, spit out a project every month. And I think that was something that's always been a goal of mine. That's always something that I looked in when I was looking at potential jobs, is how much of my skills can I utilize in this job? Will I be able to use my photography skills? Will I be able to use my videography skills? Will I be able to use my graphic design skills? All these things that I've learned over the years, I wanted to keep doing. I wanted to keep getting better doing. And now this year, 2024, I'm finally releasing all this stuff, Shoot to Ill. I really wanted to sort of like shoot a couple months in advance to get ahead of myself. But then again, I got in my head about it. I was, whether or not I could shoot 3 projects in a month, and who was I going to book for these projects and all this stuff. And it just became something that I would stress, and something that I would get anxious about. And it became more trouble than what it was worth. And then I, again, went back into my shell. It's not something that I'm proud of, or I'm proud to say. But after getting some help and talking to people about this, I realized that it wasn't as important as just doing it. And I guess I want to sort of share in this podcast how important it was to just do it. Because taking that first step is always the most important. I feel like I'm sort of reintroducing myself. Obviously the audience that this will find is hopefully not an audience that knows my work. I want this to be something that I continue to do for myself, and I'm not necessarily doing for an algorithm or to go viral or to please people. I want to just please myself and keep myself creatively satisfied. Hey, this guy. I guess I say all that to say go follow the Shoot to Ill Patreon. It's Patreon/Shoot to Ill. And you can follow my monthly projects on there. This first month, I'm doing a project that I've always wanted to do. It's something that I don't have in my portfolio. I'm shooting a whiskey bottle, and I'm going to be attempting to shoot for a brand. This brand doesn't know that I'm doing it. This brand doesn't know that I'm shooting their product. I'm just going to shoot their product and send it to them. This motherfucker. Yo. So yeah, this brand doesn't know. This brand doesn't know that I'm shooting their product. This brand doesn't know anything about this project. I'm just shooting the project for free, and I'm going to send them the photo, and hopefully this is how a relationship is built. This is something that I think a lot of creatives should do. I think a lot of creatives do it. Obviously, shooting for free is not something that we're foreign to. I think it's a lot of creatives shoot for free, and they expect for the work to naturally come. I guess the big risk that I'm taking doing this is that they get a free photo out of it, and then when it comes to shooting some follow-up product that they want like some huge discount, or they want me to continue shooting for free, which is insane, because this photo, as some of you will see, the very few of you that will actually go to my Patreon and check the work out, this is like a project that, or shooting, well, I guess I had to go into another story. A year ago or 2 years ago now, I guess, I was given, I guess, I worked on set, or I assisted on set for this Tanqueray shoot. And this was around the time where House of Gucci came out, and it was an ad. The photo was for a Tanqueray ad, sponsored by House of Gucci, or to show the connection with House of Gucci. Being on set, I learned a lot. Product photography is definitely one of those things that is, I mean, like, there's so many people that charge, like, you can make a real living. Like, you can shoot one thing a month and be set. And some photographers, even, you can work a couple of days out of the year and be set for the whole year. It's insane how much these photographers make. Even like I even know some makeup photographers, some photographers that shoot like the glamour photos for makeup companies. Those photos, they probably charge, I mean, I don't want to put anyone's business out there, but I'm going to just give like a range, probably anywhere between 5 to 15K for the day. And just imagine doing, I don't know, 4 or 5 of those shoots in a month. Like, you're set, but this is the sort of like the thing with freelancers, is that there's some months where we make a good amount of money, and then there's some months where we don't make any money at all. So it's sort of like a trade-off. But anyway, I digress. So at that shoot, I learned a lot, but they took the whole day, 12 plus hours, to shoot 3 different photos. And the reason why it took so long is because the first half of the day, I think the first 4 or 5 hours, they were setting up the shot, and then they called and they sort of like zoomed the team in of Tanqueray, or from Tanqueray, to get an approval of what the shot was going to look like. After they got approval what the shot was going to look like, then the shoot started. And then that shoot consisted of, I don't know, probably 100 different shots of a scene that was not moved. Like, it was like the bottle, right? You shoot the bottle, you make sure that the lighting on the bottle is immaculate, everything's sharp, everything's perfect. And then once you get the shot of the bottle that you want, then you start sort of hitting it with lighting in different directions. Like, you get like a nice hair light, or I guess like fill light from the back, and you add things in it, or reflectors and bounces to sort of like shine it up in the way that you want. And so there's like, I don't know, 50 different photos of just the bottle that have to be composited. You then take all those 50 photos, composite them together to make one photo. You take all these photos of the bottle, then you have to take all these photos of the things around the bottle, the glass, there was a purse, some lipstick, different accessories around the bottle. All that stuff needed to take probably like 300 photos of everything to mash together to make one good photo. I actually mentioned it in one of my Patreon videos because it was such a big learning experience to just sort of be on set and saw how that whole process went, that it got me really inspired. And I've always wanted to shoot alcohol, and I know that it's something that could pay really well. Lucky for me, I found this brand that only has like 2,000 followers on Instagram. So when I send them that content, there's a very good chance that they're actually going to see this content, and there can actually be, a relationship that starts from this. So I'm pretty excited to sort of just show this process and let everyone know out there that even if you don't have any experience, there's always these personal projects that you can take on for yourself, that you can shoot for free and sort of add to your portfolio to give yourself some experience, right? Like, not everything that you shoot is going to be perfect. Not everything, something that I've learned over the last couple of years is that not everything that I shoot is always a home run. And I think that because I shoot a lot. I'm one of those photographers that like is constantly just pressing the trigger. Mostly because I shoot with people who they move a lot, and so I want to catch the moments in between the movement. Those always end up being the best photos, and I guess the thing with that is that you end up with a lot of photos that you don't use, and so a lot of them may not even be great. No one ever sees the bad photos; they only see the good ones. But saying that, because I shoot so much, and I take the time to sort of make sure that every setup, I don't want to even say every shot, is that every setup that we set up for, is that I know that there's something in that set that we can use, which makes my batting average pretty high, is making sure that there's always something in there that I can use. And as a photographer, you never want to walk away from a shoot without getting anything usable, right? So, so that's the project for this month. I'm really excited to sort of get into it. But I guess this podcast is not part of the Patreon. I'm not sort of promoting the Patreon anywhere else. I'm not posting it on my Instagram, and I'm not putting ads out for it or anything like that. I guess this podcast is the only source or the only sense of promotion for the Patreon. And I wanted to do something like this. I did a podcast in 2015, and that podcast was like, it was when podcasting was like not something that everyone was doing. It was something that, I figured out how to do, and I wasn't necessarily putting too much work into it. I wasn't filming any of the podcasts. If I did, it probably would have been a much better experience. And I didn't have great audio. I was just sort of speaking into my MacBook with models that I was shooting. And a lot of that I was just posting on iTunes and Spotify and all this stuff. All that's all deleted now, so you won't be able to find any of that. This is sort of meant to take its place. Something with cleaner audio and an actual visual that I can use. And throughout the process of this, like I've helped shoot podcasts before. Setting up podcasts are always fun. It's like nailing the lighting, making sure that everything stays consistent week over week. A lot of the people that I work with have to have like a set that they don't necessarily touch, because if one thing moves or if you have to set up every week, it ends up looking different. And I guess like with podcasts is that you want something that is consistent every time you shoot. So I guess I wanted to sort of just walk you through this, how I set this up. Right now I'm filming with the Canon R3. It's I'm almost tempted to say that it is the best hybrid camera for both photo and video. I mean, it could do 6K RAW internally, and the photos out of this thing are amazing. It has tracking autofocus in both photo and video, eye autofocus in both photo and video, and it keeps the autofocus even in slow motion, so you can shoot 240 slow-mo, 240 frames per second slow-mo. So it's a really good camera. I don't use it for video that much. It's actually my go-to camera for shoots. Something that I use for shoots when I know that they're not going to go for print. If the photos are not being printed, I'll use it. It's not because it can't take photos that can be printed. It's just that if I know that the photo is being printed, I'd rather shoot it on a higher megapixel sensor. This one's only 24 megapixels, which it's insane because I used to shoot and print stuff on cameras that were 12 megapixels. So 24 is more than enough. But, they just come out sharper and cleaner when they're shot on a bigger sensor. So I use my R5 or my R5C for larger format photos that I want, that if they're going to be printed. Which I know some of you who know photography or photo or video or cameras are wondering why am I not using the R5 or the R5C for this. Well, ideally, this is what I would want to use. This is the Canon C70. This is my go-to video camera for everything. I absolutely love this camera. This is, I mean, I'm a Canon shooter, obviously. Nothing against Sony. I love Sony. I love what they're doing over there. I do own, or I actually got my girlfriend a Sony for her vlogging and stuff like that, which is great. And I was honestly insanely surprised of how well that camera works. And it makes me want to get a Sony ZV-E1 just because it takes all the hard work out of filming. If you want like a shallow depth of field background, it's just one button away. If you're holding things up to the camera, you hit one button. If you're shooting slow-mo, you hit another button. You don't have to worry about setting your frame rate or your aperture or anything like that. It takes all that work out of it, which is insane. Like, it's the best camera for people that just want to create content without thinking about it. They don't have to worry about getting a mic because the audio out of the camera is pretty good already. It's insane what they're able to do with that camera. I wish Canon made something like that, but they don't. But anyway, this camera, the reason why it's my go-to is because the battery life is amazing. Internal NDs, insane. False color, shoots 4K. It shoots slow-mo in 120, has tracking autofocus in 120, both eye autofocus and face autofocus. I have this speed booster that lets me use all my EF glass on it and actually gives me an extra stop of light. This is a f1.4 35 millimeter, and then on this camera it turns into an f1, which is insane. Gives such an amazing camera. And so I'm on the waiting list right now for a 24 to 105 millimeter f2.8, and as soon as that comes in, that is going on this camera and it's not coming off, even though it's an RF camera and I will not be using my speed booster with it. The crop on it, I think, makes it, I want to say it's a 40 millimeter to like a 160, or like a 40 millimeter to 160 millimeter lens on this camera, which for video is insane at f2.8. So that's sort of, I wanted to film this podcast with the Canon C70, but it's sometimes like I don't want to do this every week and have it be complicated. I want it to be as simple as possible. So I got my earphones that are plugged into the camera. I got my mic that's plugged in to the Rodecaster Duo. That's plugged from the Rodecaster Duo into the mic input. So I'm able to control all these things. Like, I even have some sounds in here. Like, I got
a bullshit.
Like, I have the pad set up just in case, like, obviously that pad I would use if someone was lying or if I were to call someone out on their bullshit. Let's see what this one is.
Open your mind.
Rick and Morty, in that season finale. I think it was the season finale. It was amazing.
What did he say?
That's
bruh.
Yeah, and then the last one I don't want to hit right now because I'm saving that for a special moment. But yeah, like, it's honestly, I'm really happy about this because I really had to learn about different types of audio, right? Like, sometimes when I'm shooting these bigger podcasts, they have like this crazy, not like a crazy soundboard, but they have this soundboard that they can sort of tweak and, adjust the gain and noise levels, or the noise gate for the mic, so you don't get stuff. And I had to learn a lot of it on my own. Like, for instance, these hard drives back here, these are on, and these are pretty loud. So, or not all of them are on, just a big one, but it's pretty loud to where you can hear it in the background. And then I also have a air filter that's on. So all that stuff, instead of turning it off, or worrying about if the AC was on or any of that, like, instead of worrying about all that stuff, I just adjusted the mic input to cut all that noise out. And actually, one thing that I didn't know, Canon cameras, I'm not sure about Sony. I'm sure Sony has this feature as well. But Canon cameras have this attenuator. I'm sure, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Give me 1 second. Let me just make sure. I'm pretty sure it's called an attenuator. So they have an attenuator built into the camera to where if you're plugging in external mics, like if you didn't have it on, there would be this constant level of noise. And so when you enable the attenuator, it cuts that noise out, which is great because I was getting a lot of that in previous videos, even some of the videos that I've already filmed. And now that I know that I have to keep that enabled, it's going to help the audio for a lot of my videos moving forward. Something that I should have known, but I didn't know. And I hope some of you watching this keep it on. So if you're going to be using an external mic on any camera, make sure the attenuator's on and then adjust the gain levels on your mic and on your camera so they don't go past 12 dB. Nerd shit, I know. So yeah, I mean, like, I wanted this to be super easy. So I have this set up. I'm shooting in log. I probably shouldn't. I think once I get to the point of knowing the sort of quality of image that I get out of this, not that I don't know, is just that shooting in this darker area, I want to make sure that I have, a consistent quality out of it. And so what I'm looking at in the screen behind the camera, it looks amazing already. And I'm sure that I can just use just like the video out of the camera without shooting log, and it's gonna look great. But I guess just to be, I don't know. When I started shooting video and, learning about all C-Log, S-Log, I even have a DJI that shoots the D-Log. Is it D-Log? I'm pretty sure it's D-Log. I have a DJI 4D that shoots RAW 4K. It's insane. But I after learning how to work with log footage and graded and all this stuff, like, I want to continue getting better at it. So that's probably the main reason why I'm doing it, is that every time I throw some footage into Premiere, which is what I use, which I know some of you are shaking your head, because a lot of people are using DaVinci or even Final Cut, but I love Premiere. It's just mainly because I'm a graphic designer. I went to school learning Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, all the Adobe programs. So like Premiere was the easiest one for me to gravitate towards because a lot of the shortcuts are always the same, all this stuff. So it was the easiest one for me to learn. So don't give me any shit. So yeah, it was. I just want to keep. I want to get better at doing everything. I think if I'm doing this for fun, I want to get better at doing it. And I know that I'm gonna get work. And I know that there's people that are gonna hit me up to shoot or help them edit or help them shoot their podcasts, and I'm up for that work. So if you're someone that needs help setting up your podcast or the audio for your podcast, hit me up. I'm available. But yeah, so I actually wanted to talk to you guys about where we at 30 minutes. So I actually wanted to talk to you guys about something. As I mentioned earlier, I shoot with models. And something that has been very apparent on social media is that people have been using AI to create content, right? And using, I'm just looking for this stuff on my phone. I work with this model named Michaela Demeter. She is she's a semi-pro hockey goalie that turned model and has started to grow her fan base. I take a lot of her photos, a lot of the photos that she posts on social media. So what I've started to see is that some people or someone out there are taking my photos and using AI to generate a different face onto hers. Not saying that this is definitely possible doing Photoshop, but to do this using AI, even down to some of the videos, it's pretty insane. So this is Michaela's account. It's pulled up on the screen. And then this is a fake account from someone named Sophia Alvarez R _. Oh no, wait, Sophia Alves. And so all these photos on her account are taken by me, they used AI to put another person's face on it, or a fake person's face on this. So let me actually find one and show you. Okay, so here is my original photo, and then here is the AI generated photo. Instagram definitely has to do something about this. This is insane. Right now, it falls in a weird gray area, and I'll put both photos on the screen right now for you guys to see. But this is the fake one. This is the fake one. This is the real one. So it's insane because it right now it falls under this strange gray area of copyright or it falls under fair use, right? But if this were music, you can't take someone's beat or someone's song and then change a few words in the song and then re-release it. Like, I have tried to sort of file a copyright complaint about these images. None of it gets taken down. None of it works. I've blocked this person. It's crazy because what am I supposed to do at this point, right? Like it falls under, because it falls under this weird gray area. It's just going to be, people are just going to keep getting away with it. And so they're going to be able to keep, like, even down to the videos. Let me actually show you a video that this person has. Actually, I can't because I'm blocked on her account as well. But on her account, there are videos that from Michaela's Instagram that they then used AI to replace the face on those videos as well, the same face. So it's just insane for me to just see that kind of content be posted, and, you know, me as the photographer and then Michaela as the model are reporting it, and then nothing happened. Like, Instagram definitely needs to do something about this. It's insane. I don't know who the fuck I have to email or talk to. I'm really good at writing an angry email. I'm going to love using those fucking buttons. But something needs to be done. And I think that it's getting to a point where AI, obviously I'm not against AI. I use AI sometimes. I'm going to use AI to help me edit this, just because there are tools that are available to help your workflow get faster and better. But if you're going to use those tools for evil, evil being taking someone else's work and stealing it, I don't know if that should be allowed. Like, and we're not, what are we going to do about it? Like, I can't send them a cease and desist. I don't know who they really are. I'm sure I can try to figure out like who runs the account or what, but it's bullshit. Like, right now, there's nothing stopping these people from doing this. And so I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens. But by the way, it's not just this one account. This is just the one account that I chose to spotlight, but there's a bunch of other accounts stealing her content. And not only stealing her content, but I've seen other stuff, other models that I work with, content be stolen, be used like this. So it's insane. You know, like, these people, they're stealing content. They're making money off of it. They're probably using it on OnlyFans as well and stuff like that. So it's fucked up. So I'll pose the question to you guys. Do you guys think that it's fair for people to take photos that other people have taken and manipulate it with AI for profit? If you're asking me, this is the whole reason why these lawsuits were brought up, right? These AI companies were being sued because they were using images that they didn't pay, that they were adding images into their what's it called? Their pool of images for their database without permission, without paying for them. And they got caught because when people would type in to generate certain images, the little square for Getty Images will pop up. People need to pay to use images in this way. They can't just Google images or take images off of Instagram. It's not, I don't think it's fair to anyone. I don't think it's fair to the person in the photo. I don't think it's fair for the photographer. But then again, this could just be me just, talking out of my ass, because this is in like a couple years, it could just, the whole internet could just be AI images of shit that doesn't exist, and people are not going to even know what's true and what's false. I think that's the whole thing with AI and why it scares so many people, is that people don't know there's no rules right now. There's no limit to what people can do with them, or can do with AI, and what they can't do with AI. Luckily, Hollywood, they reached a settlement with the writers and the actors about AI, so that, they don't have anything to worry about. But then I'm sort of left. I don't have a union. As far as I know, I don't think that there's a photographers union, but there definitely should be. Like there definitely should be a photographers union to stop shit like this from going on, or even like there should be a way. Ideally, this is something that I've always thought and I've wanted. Now, Instagram uses that algorithm to scan their images for too much skin, right? That's what I've heard, is that they use an algorithm to sort of scan the image for too much skin being shown. They can use that same technology to figure out or know whether that image was posted before on someone else's account. And it would have to automatically say or tag on that image, hey, this is and put like a in the caption or something automatically that says like, hey, this is the original post is by this person. That would be amazing. I think it'll take a lot of the worry about people stealing images. I think speaking as a photographer, there's a lot of photographers that work for free and then they don't get credit on the images. If I'm being paid to take photos, I don't really care. You don't have to tag me on the images. I don't mind that. But if I'm not being paid and you don't tag me on the photo, that's when it gets a little iffy. And I think I think that my idea of using their algorithm to sort of to categorize or to keep track of photos that have been posted, because let's be honest, we know that they're doing it already. We know that Instagram has a database of all these images and they're categorizing them. So it would be something not that hard for someone that is smart to be able to code an algorithm that makes sure that if another image, if the same image gets posted on someone else's account, for it to automatically be tagged and say like, hey, this is a repost from this account, or the original image is from this person. It's the best way to do it. Or I mean, like, it'll maybe have to add another step as the poster, right? Now thinking about it, they would have to add like the date that it was taken. I mean, all that shit's in the metadata anyway. They don't give a fuck. That's the date that it was taken, the f-stop that it was taken, the shutter speed that it was taken. All that shit's in the fucking metadata. And we all found out what the fuck that was with the Johnny Depp trial. So they're not trying to. They're trying to bullshit us if they say that they don't have it. I'm in this again. So anyway, I think I'm gonna end it there on that bombshell. I just want to say thank you guys for all of you guys listening and watching this on YouTube, or if you're listening to this on Spotify or iTunes, please subscribe to the podcast. Leave me a nice rating. It'll help this to get found by other like-minded people. If you want to support the podcast, please head over to martindepict.com or shoot2ill.com, buy some Shoot2Ill merch. On the Patreon, I'm not charging anyone to subscribe to the Patreon until July. So the first half of the year, I'm not going to be charging anyone for the Patreon. So I know it says on there that there are two different tiers, the $5 one and the $10 one, or it might be 10 and 20. But I'm not charging anyone for anything right now. So I do not have my rebill on. So if you do subscribe, you will not be getting charged until July. So if you want to watch any of the projects that I'm doing over on Patreon, head over to Patreon. Again, I have a fun one this month. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. Appreciate everything. And I'll see you guys next week. Peace.